This TwinPetes Investing podcast is brought to you in association with SharePad from ShareScope, the UK's #1 investment data and analysis software for private investors and traders. Visit sharescope.co.uk and discover the advantage.
Hello and welcome to the TwinPetes Investing podcast. This is podcast number 38. My name is Peter Higgins. You can find me at Conkers3 on Twitter, and I'm here with my good colleague at Wheelie Dealer on Twitter. My good friend Pete is sitting in his front room on his sofa. And how are you today, Pete?
Yeah, mate, I'm well, I've been better. Followers of me on Twitter and stuff will know that, and if you heard me on the Mellow thing the other night I did on Monday night, I've had a load of ongoing health issues, and the one that started this off was I got a bladder infection. Now that is pretty much under control, and I've nearly finished the antibiotics, so that's all good. The flipping complication is that on Saturday night, really late in the morning, like 2 a.m. or something, I'm transferring out of my wheelchair onto my bed, and I've only gone and caught my hip, my left hip, on the side of my wheelchair and cut my hip. So it's like having a pressure sore, but sort of worse because it's broken the skin. I haven't looked at it for about 3 days or so because I was just leaving the dressings and things on it. I looked at it today. It is better. It's making progress. You know, I'm sort of pleased really where it is, but I think it's still some way off. So I think I'm going to be on the sofa and sort of functioning at, half speed. Probably, well, I'm hoping I'll be ready for Christmas, to get and do what I wanted to do for Christmas. But I'm struggling to write blogs and things. It's just too difficult. And to be honest, I'm quite enjoying having a break from the blogs after writing for 7 years and stuff. So if readers and that can just bear with me, and I'll be back firing big time in 2021, which isn't far away.
Yeah, I mean, we've spoken about this, Pete. We've spoken quite a few times over the past couple of weeks about your health thing, and I've said this to you over and over again, mate. You have been absolutely prolific regarding your blogs and your output and your content that you've shared freely with everybody. So that's why you're so loved, mate. And the beauty of it is that you've been doing this with an objective of just enabling other people to learn and yourself to learn as well. And you've been doing it without any agenda. You know what I mean? So, that's absolutely, you're keeping yourself busy. But that just chimes with something I wanted to say, in a sense of, the beauty of the community that we've got and the way that we go about our life, Pete. You know what I mean? Yeah. And this is a poem that I saw a couple of days ago, and it almost made me weep. So please just bear with me, folks.
Is it Pam Ayres, mate? I love the one. About the bunny with its nose all green and runny. I love that one.
Yeah. Well, I just want to share this with you because, as you all will know now, that I'm big on my mindfulness. I'm big on my kindness. I'm big on the fact of paying it forward to other people. But this poem is quite poignant, and it reads like this: Life is short. Don't take one day for granted. Everything can change in a moment. Be grateful for all you have and all that you are. Remember who is most important to you and always cherish them. Life is a gift and we are blessed. There you go, folks.
Man, that's deep. I'm like, that's really mellowed me out, because as you were doing it, I was so thinking about the words and thinking, my God, it's so true,
It is, Pete. We've got followers all around the world, and everybody knows somebody who's going through a difficult time. We're now in December. It's December the 16th. It's 6:05 in the UK. Wherever you are in the world listening to this, when we put it out, just remember there's other people around you that are going through some deep difficult times, and just do what you can to pay it forward and do what you can for other people around you. And think about what you're saying and doing, because other people are going through stuff that you may not even be aware of. So just go through life as best you can. Regardless of Christmas, I'm on about every single day with kindness. Yeah, I know this is a podcast about investing and making money and all the rest of it, but Pete and I are about kindness. You're about kindness. So do as much as you can for yourself to be kind to other people, and think about how your behaviour impacts other people as well. Yeah, because
well, I think it's very easy for us as sort of investors this year. I mean, I talked about this before. I just think in so many ways we've been so lucky in that, you know, we got our backsides handed to us on a plate back in March. You know, as a long-term investor, it was a painful time back in March. And then for the markets and that to have rallied like they have, so that, you know, lots of us are making a bit of profit on the year. Lots of us are sort of at break even or nearly back to break even. When you think of the damage we had in March, I just think it's incredible. And it's like, you know, there's people out there suffering real financial hardship. And here we all are, you know, our lovely luxury lives. Our biggest problem is you know, I've got some tweets to send. You know what I mean? You know, we need to get things in perspective. And on that subject, I don't know how you feel, Pete, but my sort of sense is that I just can't wait to get 2020 over with in terms of my portfolio. And I talked about this on Twitter the other day, and I just get a sense, I just want to close everything off. I just want to, you know, on my main ISA, with the WD-40, I just want to shut that down, hopefully come away with a nice gain for the year, set it back to zero for 2021, off we go. On my income portfolio, I think I'll probably end up making a bit of a loss on it. I don't know, maybe down about 5% or something. But I'm just so fed up with 2020. I just want to close it off, get it all back to zero, so we start the year afresh, and let's crack on with 2020. How do you feel about it?
Well, Pete, my main focus throughout, well, since February really, has been about going to see my mum and dad, mate. I want to get this year over and done with. I've not seen my mum and dad since December the 30th. Yeah, because they've been shielding since this lockdown started.
So you haven't seen them the whole time?
I haven't seen them that whole time because they've been shielding, mate. Yeah? They're in the 70s, they're in reasonable health, but my dad's got a few ailments, so I've not seen him. So we've been doing FaceTime and other little, you know, WhatsApp, you know, visuals, all the rest of it. Done all that, but it's not the same, mate. I have missed giving my mum and dad a hug, right? So I'm just wanting to get out of 2020, right, and being able to get into 2021. They've had their vaccine, other people have had their vaccines. It's safer. I can get out of Tier 3, which is what Leicestershire's now in, and I can go and see them and I can give them a hug. That's what I'm looking forward to, Pete. So irrespective of what the portfolio does, that's not my priority. It hasn't been for a long time. And I just want to be able to be with my friends. I mean, I was putting a tweet out the other night, and it's what, you know, I was talking about, you know, Captain Jack Sparrow, Pete. This noise and distraction is driving me to drink, mate. You know what I mean?
Right, I'm sorry, but I just Johnny Depp, it just brings back that Sauvage advert, which I always think is sausage. Is it, yes, he's like burying something. I think, oh my god, what's he burying?
Oh dear.
And it's just, what is it, Dior? What are Dior doing? Why are they still with him? I just think it's mental. It shocks me. It really does.
He's got a huge global following, mate. For his warts and all, he's got a big following, mate. It's a bit like, the chap out of the Stones, you know what I mean? He's had all kinds of stuff going on. The original character that he portrayed Jack Sparrow on, you know. It's
like Dior sticking their V's up, isn't it? It's like, do you know what I mean? And the fact it's got him digging something in the desert, like he's burying something. I just think, oh my god, this is so bad. I cannot believe they're getting away with it.
Oh, dear. You've just taken us off. You've just taken us off on a right tangent there, Pete. But anyway, we've already thrown in Johnny Depp, alcohol, and all manner, and poetry, which is all new for us on this podcast, folks. So thank you for bearing with us.
Hey, mate, we got a big surprise later in the podcast.
Yes, we've got a big surprise. Halfway through, we're going to announce a little surprise for you all. So we'll get to that in a little while, Pete. But you were talking about the markets, Pete, and I think what's happened, Pete, is that we've had the recovery. Which has been juiced up a little bit by all the different COVID news that we've had, and the vaccines, and the news that I saw. I think it was earlier today. I saw it. It was announced by the Gov, saying that the first dose, first dose of the Pfizer Mpac Group COVID-19 vaccine. The first week of vaccination program has been going through the UK. And remarkable, because we don't seem to be getting anything right at the moment, but we're doing this right at the moment, but it would appear, more than 137,000 people in the UK have received the first dose of that vaccine in the first week of the vaccination program. Got a long way to go, but 137,000 the first week is pretty good going, I think.
Yeah, I think with all the cold chain and the complications of the temperature and the logistics, I think that's probably a reasonable start. The other thing I heard, which is related to that, and I heard it just before we did the podcast. Do you know, it's funny how often we go to do the podcast and it's like, we always do like a little test run and you go off to listen and make sure the test runs work so we got the volumes right and whatever. And anyway, before that, I have like the news on or whatever on the TV. And I nearly always pick something up just before the podcast that's actually quite relevant. And the thing I heard just now was that Chris Whitty, he's not very funny, but he's called Chris Whitty, he reckons that possibly by the end of 2020, which I think is like really pushing it, but certainly very early in 2021, that AstraZeneca, much more usable, user-friendly vaccine, was it fridge temperature and whatever,
and cheaper,
will be approved by the British people, the UK authorities, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, if they can get that one cracking, that'd be really good news, because they got like 30 million. Is it 30 million doses or so they've got? Loads.
They're going to stockpile it, Pete. Yeah.
So that's good news,
Yeah. I mean, and also I got a bit of a heads up. I hadn't seen this news, but I got a heads up this morning from somebody I was speaking to on Twitter, and they were saying there's clinical trials begin for the Valneva vaccine. So that's a clinical trial started in the UK for a coronavirus being manufactured in West Lothian by I think it's a French company, Pete. So the Scottish government have pre-ordered 60 million doses of that particular one if and when it goes and is successful. Yeah,
I think I heard that. I think I heard a similar thing. So what you're saying is basically there's going to be vaccines everywhere. You won't be able to open your front door without hitting a jar of vaccine before long.
Yeah, so that's a French firm that currently employs about 100 people in the Livingston site in Scotland. And for people that want to research that company, that is listed on the Vienna Stock Exchange and the Euronext, and that's gone up quite a lot. So that's VLA on the Euronext. So that's something to investigate for people if they're interested in investing or researching that particular stock. Pete and I don't own that, haven't bought it, haven't got any intentions of buying it, but that's another one to keep an eye on.
So what was it called? Valnext?
Valneva. VALNEVA.
Okay. I'm just scribbling it down on a bit of paper. We always make like a list of what we're talking about. But sorry if this is particularly an apology to my friend Pat, because he hates all the rustling and stuff because it's always me fidgeting and stuff. But on the sofa, it's really difficult for me not to make like loads of noise. And you'll hear my cup of tea going up and down on the desk and whatever. Sorry, Pat.
Going back to the year that we've had, though, Pete, there's another. I'm feeling quite poetic and sort of melancholy sort of mood. So I'm going to throw this one in there as well. What's happened regarding the year, Pete? This little quote encapsulates it, right?
Is this Pamairs? Yeah,
no, it's not Pamairs, mate. Just throw this one out there again. And essentially, this is what's happened in the year, because lots of things have happened regarding the vaccine, Brexit, all kinds of noise, and the COVID and all the rest of it, and people being restricted in movements and all the rest of it. And this encapsulates the year that we've had, right? This is about adjusting and being open to change, Pete. Yeah?
Yeah.
We cannot direct the wind, but we can adjust the sails.
That's totally, irrespective of anything else, but that is totally to do with managing the portfolio.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it is really saying, in portfolio terms, it's really saying, control what you can control. Because the stuff that you can't control, the uncontrollable, at the end of the day, like Brexit, right? You can fret all day about Brexit and whether it's a good idea, whether it's a bad idea, blah, 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 blah. But the reality is, it's absolutely naff all you can do about it. So there's no point worrying about it, It'll be what it'll be. You just make sure your portfolio is appropriately positioned so that if it's problematic, you're okay. If it's good, you're okay.
I mean, Pete, it's also, I mean, for me, it's more about life in general as well. You know,
Oh yeah, no, there was that.
things
But I'm
thrown at
trying to
us.
sort of
With
keep
regards,
this a bit of an
with regards to the
podcast.
yeah, with regards to the
Becoming
portfolio,
like Poetry Corner.
with regards to the portfolio, Pete, it's about, I think, having a certain level of diversity. You talk about the WD-40 and having X amount of stocks. Some people have got small number of stocks and it's quite concentrated. When things are going well, we've spoken about this before, if you've got a concentrated portfolio and you know 6 out of 10 of those stocks are doing really well, your portfolio is juiced. It's doing brilliantly well. If the markets, like it happened in March and April, turns and 6 out of 10 of those are down 10, 15, 20% or 30%, you know, then your portfolio is absolutely smashed to smithereens. So sometimes it's better to have a diversified portfolio of a number of stocks, you know. So it pluses and minuses, Pete, and it's about sometimes adjusting, you know, to the conditions.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is really is having what you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
I mean, just for me personally, I talked about this on the mellow thing that I did on Monday, where, you know, because of my health situation, I can't be a short-term trader. I can't be on this stuff all the time. So I have to take a sort of 3-5 year view. And I just feel more comfortable holding a lot more positions and lowering my overall risk because of that. And then I use things like hedging and whatever just to take the risk down even more. I heard something today that, man, I'm horrified by it. Well, I just can't get over this. I was reading an old Investors Chronicle because I'm always like years behind on them. And I'm terrible. But actually, I think that actually works quite well because quite often when you read about a stock, it's often just had news or whatever, and Investors Chronicle is updating on the results. So quite often it's already jumped up. But when you read it a couple of months down the line, basically because you're slow, you know, some of that price has actually come out, you know, and it's sort of got a bit better. But anyway, sorry, the point was, I couldn't believe it. I was reading about that LF Blue Whale investment fund thing, unit trust, yeah?
Yeah.
The Blue Whale, I mean, it's got a really good reputation and whatever, but I was astonished. It's got 50%, pretty much, maybe it was slightly less, like 45, or I can't remember what the number was. It was about 50% in one stock, in Adobe, ABDE, the US, you know, company.
Yeah, Adobe. Yeah. Are you sure it's 50? Are you sure it's 50%, Pete?
That's mental. It was absolutely insane number. I was like, what on earth is that all about? They have 25 holdings, and that one had like a ridiculous amount in it. And you know, that's worked well for them because Adobe's been a really good stock. And I know Adobe really well because one of my bestest friends in the world, she actually works for them. And we talk about it a lot because she has share options and whatever. And so, yeah, I mean, I think Adobe's a brilliant company. But I just think the immense risk of having pretty much half your portfolio in one stock, I just can't get my head around it.
Pete,
especially for a fund.
I can't say much, mate, because you know that pretty much
that
pretty much describes my portfolio regarding the weighting towards AstraZeneca, which has worked for the past 26 years. But you know, so I don't know.
Bear in mind, you get a nice dividend as well. You don't get dividends from Adobe, and bear in mind, AstraZeneca's not. Well, for most of the time you've held it, it's never been on a racy rating.
No. I would say it's
5 or something.
Yeah, it's on a pretty racy racing at the minute, mate. Unfortunately, I think Pete, this that we've once again come across here now, and we're in the AstraZeneca sort of field, and as everyone should know by now, it's now plunged itself into the arena of pursuing a mega merger even with an American pharmaceutical immunology company called ALXN Pharmaceuticals, and it's going at that particular company for $39 billion, which essentially is £29 billion cash and shares sort of deal. Personally, folks, I have never been a fan of mega mergers. The vast majority of them don't work. I'm hoping that this one accelerates the revenues for AstraZeneca going forward over the next couple of years. It's meant to work out, but I prefer a mega merger when the company's coming to buy my big company, like happened previously with SAB, Miller. But I'd prefer small, multi-billion, 2, 3, 4, 5 billion sort of mergers. But AstraZeneca are going like this in one foul swoop. It means that essentially, if once this deal's done, they're off the radar. Then I don't see any other company being able to buy them. So that's them carrying on, growing, generating revenue, and then being at the top table in the top 3 companies in the world of that sort of size. So I'm hoping it works out. Obviously, the share price has come off a lot because this deal has people worried about it, given the uncertainties around the world. But rare diseases is where is the space that this ALXN company is in. So I'm hoping it works out. So we will see what happens. But on that note, my view is that the other companies that are in the pharmaceutical and biotech space, I think this is going to accelerate other mergers and other mega mergers. So on that note, I've been having a quick look at companies in that space. I own Vectura, I own ICMA, but I don't own GSK, and GSK is lowly rated.
I've got GSK myself. Yeah.
Okay, so
what's the code on that? VEC, is it?
Vectura is VEC, yeah. So
yep. Named.
So GSK is on a yield of 5.89% ish, PE of 10. It's down 23% over the past 12 months. The price range is £12.91 to £18.46. And when I looked earlier, it might have changed before I looked at the screen before we started. Since we started, it was at 13.64 ex-dividend. I think that's a really, really low price, and either they'll be involved in buying somebody, despite their levels of debt, or Pfizer might even come in and say, we want to buy you. So that's on my radar at the minute. I don't own the stock. I'm going to do some more research over the next couple of weeks on the stock. But I think we're going to see a wave of mega mergers because the companies will not want to see AstraZeneca and ALXN as a combined entity sitting there with a market cap of 130, 140 billion going, oh, we're only a 50 billion pound company, we're only a 40 billion pound company, and them having a big chunk of the immunology space. So I suspect we're going to see some more mergers going forward in 2021 in the pharma and biotech space. So that's something I think people need to investigate. And as we've seen, Pete, you had Telit, didn't you?
Yeah, Telit.
News on that one. Codemaster had some news and then had another bid. Yeah. Take Two, and then Electronic Arts went for them as well. That was a big bump up, wasn't it?
It's interesting what you said, though, because we haven't had the mega mergers yet. And in a way, AstraZeneca, and there have been a couple of others maybe, particularly probably more in the States and stuff. But sort of over here, I don't feel like we've had any, we haven't had hardly any. There was that Aveva, did that tie up with somebody else, didn't they?
The last big one, Pete, was that SAB Miller one that went on for ages.
Well, that was ages ago, wasn't it? Yeah.
That's big one.
Sorry, before I talk about Glaxo, what was that other stock you named? You mentioned another stock.
Hikma Pharma. I've got.
HIK. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Generic specialist.
Generics.
Yeah, they're pretty big in generics. So that's interesting. GSK. The other thing about it is that it's going to be splitting soon. Because it's going to split into its health, more boring kind of products like toothpaste and creams you rub on your bum and stuff, and it's going to split into a more racy side, which is more focused on development of medicines and whatever, and more like AstraZeneca. And so I think, with a massive dividend, low rating, and a share split, there's a lot to like about that stock.
There's a lot to like, but that's why I wanted to just share it. I didn't know you held it, but yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting one going forward. And I like companies that are looking at and considering share splits. I owned Smiths for that reason. So they've been talking about split for a while though, Pete, and it hasn't come around yet. It's been delayed for a variety of different reasons. But
is that Smiths Industries?
Smith Industries, S-M-I-N. Yeah.
It's one I've never ever really sort of looked at SMI and I sort of read about it. And it's never like sort of pulled me in and got my attention enough.
It's a boring little product, mate, but it's got a lot of technology involved in there as well. Medical side. So that's why I just like the companies that no one talks about, Pete. As I always say, I prefer the stocks that no one talks about. I prefer people not buying into stocks that I own. Just let them to get on with their business rather than jumping in and out for 5 and 10% here, which is what traders do. They tell you that they're going to be buying the stock from £1 to £15, and they get out at £1.20.
They ran way before. Yeah, no. Mate, is there any more you want to add to that?
No, I mean, for me, Pete, GSK, is another massive bellwether. It's a blue chip of blue chip. It's been around forever. You know what I mean? And whether or not they do the share split or not, I would urge people just research that stock a bit more, because I think they've actually been taken by surprise by this move by AstraZeneca. And I'm not saying they're going to react immediately. They might carry on with this split, but I think something's going to happen, and there's going to be more stuff going on. Probably a lot of the US pharma companies are going to be looking at doing mega mergers as well. But I think we are going to be involved somewhere. There's going to be more going on regarding pharma and biotech, and even if the smaller ones in the UK start to think, let's join up, and look at that.
Another thing that strikes me I just remember about GSK. Apparently, it's the largest vaccine maker. I think it's the largest vaccine maker in the world.
There you go.
Which is incredible. So that manufacturing facility itself must, the capability must be worth something, And the other thing about it that's really important is that obviously it had a change of leadership, and that is Emma Walmsley, isn't it? Is the CEO now.
And you know what? Change of leadership, possible change of strategy, or catalyst for change.
Yeah, it gets rid of a lot of the sort of internal politics and stuff, because you have like a sort of existing management, and they've got friendships and allies and enemies within the organisation.
Well, Pete, it's surprising you say that, because that's exactly what's going on at Aviva. Yeah.
I got Aviva.
And that new CEO's gone in there, and she's gone bosh, doing it, boom, 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 like that. Yeah. And I'm thinking, wow, they've been talking about doing this, that, and the other for years. And all of a sudden, she's been in there for I don't know how long, not very long, and she's gone bang, 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 bang. And there's a lot of stuff going on there, mate.
Oh, she's been in there 2 minutes. And what I find incredible about that is that many years ago, I don't know, 6 years ago, 8 years ago, you had Aviva, and it was this sprawling great lump. And then Mark Wilson came in as CEO, and he did a cracking job, because he did loads of strategic reviews and basically said, we got too many businesses, it's not focused, it's all over the place. And basically he just sold loads off and did whatever. But then he sort of got to a point where he sort of didn't take it any further. And it's like, I always thought he was really impressive, but he sort of hit a plateau of his capability almost. Or maybe it was the politics.
Maybe it was politics, Pete, or maybe he got his hands tied, because this lady, Amanda Blanc, has come in and just gone. Maybe that was part of the criteria of her getting the job. I need free reign to do the stuff that I think needs to be done.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny that he did so well at the start, and then it sort of like tailed off. And then the new lady comes in, and all of a sudden it's like bish bash bosh, we're doing this, and you think, why didn't Mark do that?
Yeah.
I find that really strange.
Yeah, so she's certainly come in with that big brush, mate, and she's going at it.
Sweep it up, mate. Sweep it all up.
Sweep it up. I mean, this goes back to the discussion I've seen so many times on Twitter, Pete. Yeah, as to leadership and who makes the best leaders, and this is going to upset a few people, but as far as I can tell, in a lot of the global entities and politics as well, women tend to be far more strategic thinking and better leaders than a lot of men.
Do you know, I certainly see that in companies. I see it a lot, where when they get a lady, at the reins, they're so much better. And I mean, it's like one or two exceptions to that, but generally speaking, you look at companies that have had girls in charge, females in charge, ladies in charge. I always get the words wrong. I'm not very PC. That's actually my initial.
Everyone knows that already, Pete. Everyone knows that already.
And yeah, so where was I? You're PC as well because you're Peter Conkers. Anyway, but Peter Conkers 3. Yeah, no. What was I thinking? Oh yeah, that's right. And you get blokes in charge, and I think maybe there's more the old ego thing and whatever. I saw one today, and I sort of dread naming names on the podcast. I hope he's not listening. But I noticed that the CEO of Saga, you know, that company with the light cruises and
the company that's always in a saga. Yeah,
I hate them because they always send me mail saying you're an old git, you're an old git. Sign up for all our stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to buy anything off you because you've just insulted me. I'm only 18.
Oh my gosh.
And so I noticed that he was CEO, and the thing was, he was at Superdry, S-Dry, and I didn't never think he did a good job there. Do you know what I mean? And the new guys come back, and Roger DeHaan or whatever his name is, the founder, isn't it, has returned to Saga. So it'd be interesting to see what happens to Ewan Sutherland, whether he goes the distance or goes a very long distance.
Well, you know what, mate? Sometimes you have to go to a company where you're allowed to do the things you need to do, mate. You know, and to have that sort of, you know, you're not just there as the front person. You're there to actually do some strategic change and, you know, streamline the business if need be. And you've got carte blanche to get on with it, you know, and to be ruthless. Because, you know, a lot of these companies now, and COVID has accelerated it, Pete, weren't that digitally aware, you know, weren't that focused on having to be this organised in a sense of, you know, we've gotten away with doing stuff certain way, mail shots here, mail shots there. But now you've got to be digital. You know, what happens to a company whose demographics are people over 50, 60, and 70? You know, if you've been mail shotting them all the time, maybe you need to then apply tech a little bit more, because the 50-year-olds of the 1960s aren't the 50-year-olds of 2021, 2020. You with me? They're more tech savvy now, aren't they? They're having to be.
True, and I just think the whole thing of just targeting one demographic seems to be quite a limited strategy.
Yes, it is. They need to open a bit wider to that, and I think they are going down that route.
Superdry, S-Dry, that had some news today. I hold Superdry, and I've been through the whole pain on that one.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it's been a bit more perkier of late. The interesting thing there was that Julian Dunkerton, the founder, who came back as an interim CEO, has actually now been confirmed permanent CEO, and they've got a new lady in, Bonella. Is it the
Silvana Bonello?
And the thing that's interesting about that stands out there to me is that she used to be with Nike and some other company that I've never heard of. She had 18 years at Nike. Now, obviously, she understands clothing, fashion, that kind of business, yeah? Whereas you look at Ewan Sutherland, who's with Saga, one minute he's in a clothing company, next minute he's doing insurance and cruise ships. And I sort of think, you know, okay, to an extent, maybe people can move around to different industries, but I sort of think specialism and understanding, there's a lot to be said for it, you know?
I completely agree with you there. And people talk about how much research I do, Pete. Those are sort of little bit of details that can give you the edge in a sense of what is this about. You know, you've actually hit a nail there, Pete. You've looked at her experience there, yeah, and you've gone, I like that. I like the addition of her there. Nike quality, 18 years, blah blah blah.
But it made sense, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely makes sense, because you've got to look at what that stock has been absolutely ravaged, mate. You know, it's been shredded in the sense of what's happened to that stock. And now you've got to revitalise it. So you bring people on board that can actually do that, got the expertise, and know that chain, that supply chain inside out. You know, you don't want somebody coming from Carnival Cruises to come into Superdry.
Well, that's the thing. You know, it's just, it just didn't make sense. And she's going to do like the chief operating officer role, which is, you know, a real important role in terms of the actual detailed function of the business sort of thing. And obviously she's going to understand a lot of that from her days at Nike. I mean, 18 years at Nike, she won't have been at the top of Nike for 18 years. She'll have come from lower down the organisation, I suspect.
Yeah.
And you know, and have a real good understanding of the various different levels and what really goes on. You know, it's like the last thing you want is one of these amazing high-flying CEOs. Someone like, you know, that bloke, is it, we talked about it before, Stuart Rose, M&S?
Yeah. Marks and Spencer.
Amazing retailers, yeah? I bet that bloke hasn't stacked a shelf for 30 years. You know what I mean? You know, he probably don't even know where the shop floor is. And it's sort of, it's almost like they bring in these like high-flying flagship leaders who really know nothing about what goes on in the business. I you know, I'm not necessarily dissing Stuart Rose, but his was pretty ropey. So yeah, I've had my rant on that one, mate.
No worries, Pete. I wanted you to touch on it's all takeover. We were speaking about takeovers, mate, back in October, and we were saying keep an eye out. We're saying about in November, and there's been takeovers after takeovers. And I noticed there was a bit of news on Telit as well. You own?
Yeah. It's sort of.
Is it good or bad or indifferent, mate?
Well, it's sort of bad, really, I would say, but because one of the bidders, DBE Advisors, has pulled out, so at the moment there is only U-Block's holdings in the game, and they were talking about an all-share swap, an all-share takeover of Telit. And it's sort of priced at the theoretical price was £2.50. But trouble is, I mean, looking at it today, where is it? I'm on my wonderful ADBE app. Where is it? Hang on. What were we talking about? What stock was it?
Telit, mate. Yeah. Telit. Your stock, Telit.
I'm losing the plot. Right. 192. 192. So yeah, 192 today. It had a big fall yesterday, and it sort of wiggled around today. But it's like the theoretical price is £2.50. It's like it's miles adrift.
But is any of that going to be cash, Pete, or is it all cash?
It's all shares, I think. And
well, there you go. You see, you always get that arbitrage between what the actual price they're claiming to want to buy it at, and the fact now you've not got another company fighting for it. You know, so you're going to have that little bit of leeway. It might be an opportunity for people to get in there, but you know, it's just I prefer.
It's hard, I mean, I can't on my ADBFN app, as brilliant as it is, I can't find U-Blocks on it. It's pretty obvious that U-Blocks has fallen. If I could be bothered to look on SharePad, I'd see it on there.
Yeah.
But I would imagine that the U-Block share price has fallen, and because it's a ratio of U-Block shares to TCM shares when they do the swap, you know, U-Block shares fall, so effectively hits the value of TCM. And we've had the same thing with GOCO, Go Compare.
Yeah.
The theoretical takeover with shares and that was 129, and today, looking at it on the old app, there he is, GOCO. Oh, it's 129. Wow, I'm pleased about that. So it's recovered to 129. It's been taken over by Future, FUTR. And it's an interesting situation now because the theoretical price there was 129. So I could sort of say, okay, I mean, it fell initially. You sold, didn't you? You sold yours, didn't you? Is that right?
I sold mine when there was this insurance thing going on regarding the company, Pete.
Yeah.
So I got out. I was out before the actual merger started.
So it dropped quite a lot, and I was thinking, I'm not gonna. I thought, even though I don't particularly want Future shares, I sort of thought, well, you know, I'm not gonna sell at 115 or something stupid. So I thought I'll just wait, see what happens, see how it plays out. There might be another bid, who knows? Anyway, so I just sort of bided my time. And now it's back to that 129 theoretical price. So, of course, my brain's thinking, well, should I take that, you know? Well, but then if Future keeps going up, and if markets keep going up, which usually through
this is the thing. They're directly linked to the share price of Future, essentially, aren't they? So if the markets, we have a Santa rally, and Future goes up, you're going to get a few more pennies into the situation, into the mix. However, Pete, as you saw when people going, oh, I'm not quite sure about this, even I said it, is this too big a chunk for them to buy, in the sense of buying GOCO? And, people going, yay, 120, oh, 114, oh, 110. It's going to be that sort of situation. So you either take a little bit off the table, or you ride it out right till the end, or you get out before, you get your future shares. That's a big decision for people to make, really.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm perhaps thinking, well, what I'm thinking is over the next few days, because I think we're into proper Santa rally territory here. That thing I talked about in the last podcast, where the market just tends to sort of steadily drift up on these remaining days of December and between Christmas and New Year, and a little bit into January usually. And because of that sort of slow melt up, I sort of think, I don't really want to be selling much at the moment. If anything, I'm going to be buying, because I'm thinking of doing another FTSE 100 long tonight. We're recording this on Wednesday the 16th, by the way, 16th December. But what I'm thinking is, maybe I'll slice a bit off GOCO or something, but I don't really want future shares. I mean, future's been a good stock for people, and there's a lot to like about it. But I don't know, it just doesn't grab me really. And there's other stocks that I've been looking at for ages that I would rather own. So I'm sort of thinking, if I can get my GOCO money out, move on, look at something else.
Yeah, I mean, Pete, it's a media company, and it's been in the mix, and it's come a long way, having started in someone's bedroom, and they've done a lot of mergers. So, this is another one that they've done to keep the revenue stream and the size of growth going forward. And it will be one of them they've got to, get embedded into the company to actually generate the revenues that they want going forward. So it's one of those really that people have to make their minds up. Do they want to be having those shares going forward, given it, I was holding it at what, sub 90 pence, Pete, and sold a chunk of it at 15, 16 quid. Yeah. It's one of them, Pete. You just got to be very mindful of that. It's come a long way, and who knows what the future holds. All we do know is that it's going to be a tech-related sort of company, era going forward. So, and that's what they're in. They're a digitally focused advertising and marketing company, so they should do very, very well, Pete. But you've got to look at what PE it's at, what price they're paying for this company, and make your own mind up as to what you do. Do you want to have future shares, or do you want to get out before your GOCO shares get taken?
I guess it's one of those things where, as much as I'm aware of future and I know a bit about it, I've never really looked that closely at it. And there's other companies I understand better, and I'm not overly keen on these acquisition strategies. I don't mind a company that grows well organically, then it does the odd acquisition and grows that way as well. I've got no problem with that. I think that's good. But it strikes me that future's a bit sort of acquisition. I don't really like that.
It's part and parcel. It's that build and grow strategy, Pete, and they've done that for years now, and it's worked so far. But this is by far.
Tend to work until they don't.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. But this is their biggest one by far, Pete.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to make this work, and you've got to get the cultural fit and all the rest of it. I mean, the other one I wanted to talk about, Pete, was the Codemaster one. A lot of people were in two minds because they had the bid, didn't they?
Yeah.
And the share price went up, and then it was Take-Two offered cash and shares. They were the largest shareholders, weren't they, in Codemaster?
Take-Two Interactive, wasn't it?
Yeah, Take-Two Interactive offered cash and shares totaling £4.85.
Yeah.
And people were like, I don't want EA shares. Sorry, Take-Two shares, and not quite sure this is a good price. Some people bailed, and got out of the shares. But then they got another offer this week. Essentially, was it £6.50 or something like that?
I don't know. I haven't been that close to it. I saw it was going on. All when I see that, my brain just thinks, fantastic, because that'll be a nice halo effect on my TM17.
Right. Okay.
I'm so mercenary.
You are mercenary, mate. I mean, this is the beauty, Pete. Sometimes, and I've said this before, when you get a bid, you want someone else to come in and bid, and if they start battling it out, that's great. I suspect, you know what, that Take-Two, being a shareholder in CDM, put that bid in there to try and juice it up to see if anyone else would come in. You know what I mean?
Could well be, couldn't it? Do you know, it's funny, right? I meant to mention this on Twitter, but I didn't. Yeah, right. I was thinking the other day how much the game stocks have changed. Because you think back, say, 10 years, yeah? Gaming stocks were really quite problematic. They had a very patchy history of, you know, late product launches and, you know, cost overruns, and a lot of them really struggled, didn't they? And it was so competitive. But it's like with the proliferation of mobile devices, with the I can't say that word. What is it? Proliferation.
Yep, proliferation, Pete. Yeah.
I got that then. We'll call it P, right? With the P.
Yeah.
Of like, you know, technology just getting faster, broadband, faster laptops, all this stuff. And it's like the gaming industry, and of course the other thing that's changed is the demographics, because it used to be 13-year-old boys in their bedroom, didn't it? And now, I mean, you know, there's the whole age range. I read something the other day that the average age of a gamer is 38 or something.
Yeah,
it's incredible. And not just that. Now, girls, females, here's me being PC wrong again.
Ladies or women, Pete? Yeah.
Ladies, women, all them lot, and the dames, they're all there. They make up 40%, I think, of the customers. Which, you know, 10 years ago, I'd be amazed if they made 4%. Because some of the games...
Pete, some of the superstars out there on the gaming circuit are female, mate. And they're making millions per year from sponsorship deals and competitions and all the rest of it. And some of the best out there are females, mate.
The whole gaming industry is transformed. And it's almost like there is so much growth in the sector that even a pretty rubbish gaming company could probably do all right.
I mean, the thing is as well, though, Pete, that you've got to consider here is that a gaming company is only as good as the staff. A lot of the staff in gaming companies are freelancers, yeah, and they're utilised from all around the world to put these things together. And depending on who gets, you know, pushed to go to which company or company offers them the best deal and all that, they're moving around constantly, yeah. And the pressure on getting these games right. I think I saw something about another company that just put out a computer game, which is they've had to refund people. They've lost like £1 billion in the space of a week since launch. So you've got to get these things right, otherwise it can be very, very expensive. But you're absolutely spot on. The demographics have completely changed. People are spending more time playing games on the phone and doing this, that, and the other. And it's about the fact that, you know, we've now got this supercomputer which we're carrying around with us all the time, which is the size of our wallets unfolded. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's unreal. I mean,
so you don't have to wait to get home to do a game. You're actually playing it on the train. You're playing it, you know, if you're a passenger in the car. You know, blah 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 blah. So this is the beauty of what's going on. But the fact that they keep coming to take them over and take over. Yes, mate. It's a hot space. It's a hot space right now.
Hey, you touched on something. I'll just develop it slightly. You talked about the staff. From what I'm picking up, there's a massive shortage of game development skills. And I'm talking everything. I'm talking the actual sort of like boring coders, the testers, the creative design side of it, the artistry, all that kind of stuff. And what a lot of these companies doing is they're doing takeovers so that they can get the studios to get the staff, because it's the only way they can get hold of staff.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
What's going on, and I think we'll see a lot more mergers in that space. And I think, I mean, some of the ratings. I mean, I haven't looked at TM17's rating for a while, and it's probably ridiculous, like forward PE of 70 or something. But I just think the way the market is now, with the growth that's going to be there, with the takeover potential, I just think these things are going to probably do pretty well for a while.
I think there's going to be more mergers in that space, most definitely, in consolidation, Pete. Pete,
Yeah.
we're 50 minutes in, and I wanted to talk about our little surprise for people.
Wait, we haven't even started yet, have we?
Yeah, 50 minutes in. So folks, this is just a little idea that Pete and I had. We'd like to make it as interactive as varied as possible for our listeners, and we hope you're enjoying it. And again, we want to say absolutely thank you all so much for the fantastic feedback and support you've given us for TPI 36 and 37. That we've just been smashing records after records with the last two podcasts. So thank you.
We've had great response from day one. So thank you to everybody. Yeah. You've been so supportive, and you know, I mean, we're not experts on keeping track of our numbers, but I think pretty much the last podcast we did, TPI, what was that, TPI 37?
Yeah.
I think that's our most successful ever in terms of listeners, subscribers, from from when we first released it to today. It's by far eclipsed all the others.
So with that in mind, folks, we had a little idea in the sense of us saying thank you to all of you, ladies and gents, wherever you are in the world.
Who suffer this nonsense.
Yeah,
your tolerance is impressive, listener. I must say.
let me just get this out there, Pete. Come on. So
the
oh dear. So the idea we've had, folks, is to enable one of you fantastic listeners, wherever you are in the world, to come on to the TwinPetes Investing show. Okay. So the idea is this. Right, you use social media. We're on Twitter. You follow Pete at Wheelie Dealer on Twitter. You follow at Conkers3 on Twitter, and you do a retweet of TwinPetes 38. Yeah, and all you do is tell us why you enjoy investing, and Pete and I will announce who the winner is during TwinPetes 39. So we need you to reply to us on Twitter, by December the 29th. Retweet, follow Pete at Wheelie Dealer, and follow me at Conkers3, and just tell us why you enjoy investing. And we'll pick a winner, and the prize is you lucky person who wins it is able to come onto our show, live, unscripted, and tell us and share a part of your journey of investing with us on the show. So that's our little, Santa Christmas present to you all. Wherever you are in the world, you've got to be able to come on here, GMT 6:30 on what will be for TwinPetes number 40, which will be the middle of January. So we'll organise all that in the background. You come on the show for TwinPetes 40. You speak for 10, 15 minutes, whatever, about what you enjoy about investing.
Long till we all get bored, really.
Yeah, so we just thought we'd share that idea with you, ladies and gents. So retweet, follow us on Twitter, and then tell us what you enjoy about investing, and we'll pick a winner. We just thought that'd be a nice way to just give you guys and ladies a nice little Crimbo present for the new year.
And in your comment for why you like investing, can you please just copy my Twitter handle and Peter's Twitter handle? Yeah,
absolutely.
But the other thing is just to say, don't feel stressed about it. Don't think, oh my God, I can't do that. It's too difficult. You're just going to come on with us.
It's just a bit of fun.
We're not going to bite or anything. We're more worried you're going to bite us.
It's just a bit of fun, bit of interactive fun.
It could be fun. So come and join us. And the response that appeals to us the most will be the winner.
Yeah.
Excellent. No, mate. I tell you what. When you came up with that idea, Pete, I just thought it was awesome, mate. Awesome. Love it. And I'm sure we could do more stuff like that in the future, maybe if we have enough time. If we all live long enough.
I mean, this is the beauty of it, Pete. What I love about it is the fact that we've got and had so many listeners from all over the place, right? And we had our good friend who was absolutely jumping for joy because we mentioned the Ukraine the other day. You know, Robin Robinson.
Brilliant. He's building a new barn, mate. He's getting a new barn, isn't he? that just killed me, that did, honestly. I loved it.
But this is it, Pete. We've got listeners in the Ukraine, in the US, in Ireland, in Spain, in Thailand, in Sweden, Germany, France, Australia, Hungary, Netherlands, Poland, Jersey, Portugal, Canada, United Emirates, Isle of Man, Finland, Turkey, New Zealand, Bahrain, Belgium, in Russia, Mauritius, South Africa, Norway, India, Switzerland, Egypt, Singapore, Japan, Kenya, Vietnam, Costa Rica, Indonesia, Cyprus, Italy, Saudi Arabia, Czech Republic, Brazil, Mexico, Bhutan, Austria, Luxembourg, Malta, Denmark, Guernsey, Lithuania, Azerbaijan. That's 50 countries that I can see a list of. And after that, it just goes to zero, goes to ones. So thank you all, wherever you are in the world. Enjoy your December break if you're having one. So that's where we are, Pete.
I'm blown away by that. That's fantastic. Hey, I'm aware that time's moving on, but I've got loads of time. I don't know about you, Pete, but I'm on the sofa. You know,
I know you are, Pete, but I'm going to try and keep this one within the confines, mate. So we've probably got, if we're going to be lenient, about another. We're on 55 minutes. I'd give it another 10 minutes, Pete.
Right.
Max.
That's cool. Well, I just wanted to talk quickly because I've been typically like me this year, but I've been more like me than ever in that I've almost done so little buying and selling of my shares this year. I've been so inactive, it's unbelievable. And then anyway, the other day I got a bit carried away and I top sliced a bit of Mpac simply because I had so much of it. It was getting ridiculous. It was like 12% of my portfolio, which, you know, if it was Glaxo or something, I wouldn't be quite so stressed. But 12% in what really is quite a small company in a turnaround situation. But I still think Mpac is excellent, and I'm very, very happy holding Mpac, and I'm up like 300% on it. But I just think I've got too much, so I'll probably slice some more off as we go into 2021. Anyway, I sliced a bit off, and what I've done is I've redeployed that. I've bought a starter position in Lok'N Store LOK, which I really quite like the look of. And I bought a starter position in a really exciting one. And the reason it's exciting is because it reminds me of Mpac. It's almost identical situation to what Mpac was when I was buying it really heavily 1 or 2 years ago. And I was saying to people, this just looks so bonkers cheap. And the one I bought is BAR, brand Architekts. It's got a weird spelling, but... and if you go onto my website, you know, www.wheeliedealer.weebly.com, go to the trades page. I've written a big chunk about why I like it. And the essence is, you know, it's very much like Mpac. We got new management. The directors have been buying. It's got cash of 18 million. And the market cap when I bought was about 25 million. So it's like, you know, you're getting the business for like hardly anything. It used to be Swallowfield, SWL. So again, very similar to Mpac, which was formerly Molins. So it's like a sort of good, successful company before that's fallen on hard times. The old management had gone, new management in. I really like the look of that, and I expect to be buying lots more of that over the coming... Well, we'll see what happens, but I do expect to be buying that quite heavily going forward. I talked about brand Architects a few podcasts ago, and I'm sure a few people sort of picked up on it then. But yeah, other than that, so I've been doing that. The other thing I've been doing is I've got a long on the FTSE 100 to run through the Santa rally. And I'm thinking, as I say, this is Wednesday the 26th December. Sorry, is it 16th December? I'm thinking, Boxing Day. I'm thinking of putting another long on the foot, you know, just doubling it or something, probably tonight. I'll have a little think about it.
Pete, are you not worried that, you know, the Brexit noise that we're getting at the moment is sounding very, very positive, and once again, there's a possibility that, you know, it might go completely Pete Tong, you know, and we might hear some surprise from Gove or Boris, which completely just takes the air out of the balloon.
Yeah, that is a really good point. I mean, I've sort of ummed and ahed about this, and I just think that I've seen it so many times with the Santa rally, this sort of slow drift up around, you know, these Christmas Day and New Year. It seems to be such a sort of powerful force that it's almost like whatever else is happening, it just carries on anyway. So, and I think what I found interesting is that if you sort of think, well, if Brexit goes horribly wrong, there's no deal, then the pound will fall, yeah? And then you think, well, if the pound falls, that would be good for the FTSE 100. But there's a real problem with that, because what I've noticed for months, I mean, you can look on a chart, it's like been quite a while now, that actually the pound's been rising, but the FTSE 100 has risen with it. So that correlation has changed, and it's quite common for correlations to change. That's not an unusual thing. So I'm not going to go mad, you know, I'm not talking an immensely huge position, but I'm just thinking of adding a bit more tonight.
Okie dokie.
And then as we go into next year, something I need to address is that my income portfolio has got a bit of cash in it, and I need to buy another stock for that, I think. So I need to put more thought and effort into that. I haven't really done much with it. I mean, to be honest, I could just be really lazy and just buy more Glaxo. It really is that simple almost. But I have been thinking about song, you know, Hypnosis Song Fund. I really like that. I've got some of it. And I was thinking of buying that in my income portfolio.
Well, I mean, hopefully they're finished with all the buying now, Pete, but I suspect they haven't, you know, and all the different placings and fundraisers that they had. I think they're on record as being the most prolific UK company raising money this year or the last 12 months. So they've raised a lot of money, they've deployed it, and now they're paying, you know, they're getting the rewards with Mariah Carey going straight to #1 for the first time with that record.
Yeah.
So that was a big payoff straight away for them buying that. They only bought that catalogue this year, wasn't it?
Yeah, bought in September, I think.
That was a quick one, isn't it? I wonder why it was getting promoted so heavily everywhere, that song.
Well, they had another one. They had Prisoner, the one with Miley Cyrus and Dua Lipa. Now, a lot of people might not realise this, but Dua Lipa, I read somewhere that she's the biggest selling UK artist last year or this year or something, which, you know, she's worth like 80 million. She's only been on the scene 2 minutes, which I just find that astonishing.
Have Song got her catalogue as well then, Pete?
Yeah, they own Prisoner.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Because like with Dua Lipa, I don't think Dua Lipa writes much herself. I think she's more a singer of other people's songs, because, you know, there's all these sort of professional songwriters and stuff.
Can I just say, Pete, you've gone full circle here now.
No.
You are now a partisan young teenager talking about Dua Lipa, mate. I think that's just you're rock and roll, mate.
Mate, I'm a massive fan of Megan Trainor. You know what it's like. You know, I'll tell you what, you say that. I sent it out on Twitter. Yes, I absolutely love that McDonald's advert song, Forever Young.
Right, okay, yeah.
Just think that is. I just love that song. I could listen to that all day long, especially when there's all these terrible Christmas songs being played all the time. It's driving me absolutely up the wall.
Brilliant, Pete. Talking about Christmas and Christmas songs and people being happy, I think I'd like to wrap up in a few minutes, but I wanted to touch on. Mate,
I need to do an advert as well. Can you
do the advert now, and I'll come back to this.
Wheelie dealer advert.
Go for it.
Right. On my website, you got Wheelie's Bookshop. I gave the address. Well, it's www.wheeliedealer.with. Wheelie's Bookshop. There's loads of books in there. If you click on it, buy a book. Comes from Amazon. They send it through to you. I get a little kickback. We need to keep the beer fund going. Thank you. Fantastic. For Christmas, you can treat yourself for Christmas, or buy your mates a nice, lovely.
Do you want to tell them about the other way that you get a drink as well, Pete, via SharePad?
Oh yeah. Well, obviously, people sign up for SharePad, then I'll get a drink for that as well. But you know, it's all on my website. Have a look on the website.
Okie dokie. Before I go into the bit that I was going to tell you about, I just wanted to give you, ladies and gents, a bit of a heads up. There's an archive on my website which is called the Conker's Corner podcast.
Oh, we're having a Conker's advert. Conker's advert.
No. This is not the advert.
Cool,
there's about 50 odd interviews on there with 1 billionaire, 10 maybe 12 ISA millionaires, lots of shrewd people, including an interview with Wheelie, of course, on there. But one of the chaps I've interviewed quite a few times,
Wheelie.
Wheelie dealer, and which I've got a really good relationship with, and he's a really, really nice guy. I'm going to be interviewing him next Monday. I'm putting it out over Christmas. I'm going to be interviewing the significant person in investing that I've got the utmost respect for. He's called Phil Oakley. I'm going to be interviewing him on Monday the 21st. So look out on my website and on Twitter and across social media for an interview I'll be putting out. Phil and I are going to be talking about a variety of different things. So if you know him from Investors Chronicle, you know of a high quality gentleman that he is. So I'll be talking about a few things and hopefully put that out via the Conquest Corner podcast.
On Twitter, he's at Phil J. Oakley, isn't he?
That's correct, yeah.
Good guy, Phil.
Yeah. So the stock I wanted to talk about, Pete, was we spoke about it on TwinPetes 34, was the Royal Mail, yeah, RMG.
Wow.
Okay. Wow. And that stock, when we spoke about it, was nearer to £2.40 when we spoke about it back in October. And it's currently at multi-year highs? Is it 349 as we speak? Yeah.
Brilliant.
So it's done exceptionally well. And the reason I'm talking about that, I'll say multi-year highs, is that, yeah, it's a 1 year high. I do apologise. The reason I'm talking about that is because I thought it was quite, I just thought, finally, shows how far a company can go when they start to change things up. But Royal Mail, this is a bit of news, folks, a bit of fun news. Royal Mail became and made the first UK drone package delivery with parcel drop-off at a remote Scottish lighthouse. It used a drone to deliver a parcel to a lighthouse. So that just goes to show what's possible when you want to go out there. Made a landmark delivery on the Isle of Mull in Scotland.
Wow.
Yeah, the second largest island in the Inner Hebrides.
Wow.
Yeah. So there you go. Technology.
The chart on RMG, I'm just looking at, I think I mentioned this on Twitter the other day. The chart is really interesting because if you look at a 3-year chart, which is what I'm looking at on my phone, we're sort of at the level that was a peak, which is going to be resistance, from about 2 years ago, yeah? But, so that's say around 360, 370, yeah? But just before that, it obviously had like a really nasty profit warning because it had fallen from, hang on, blimey. Yeah, just under 500. So basically from sort of 370 to 500, it just fell off a stone. It was just boom, straight down, yeah? And was there a share split or something? Or
no, mate, it was just really, really bad news. Everything was going against it. There's more strikes, more problems. Everything was going wrong. You know, it hit £1.24p at its low this year.
I've wiped my brain of the pain. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, my point is, right, that if it can break out above about, it probably look. I'm looking on my phone, so you need to look yourselves, people. But it's about 370. Thing is, there's no resistance then up until, well, probably 100 points on top. So I reckon it could close that 100 points pretty damn quick.
Yeah, you've got 370, and then the next resistance at 477p.
There you go, 100 points. Brilliant.
Now, people on Twitter now are talking. A lot of people talking about bowls. So on the chart, it looks like it's a bowl formation, and that will be part of a bowl. Yeah, if it gets up to 477 from 124, that will create a bowl.
Fantastic. That is well sweet. Mate, I need to mention one quickly because I promised somebody I would.
I promised somebody that we wouldn't go into 1 hour and 15 minutes, Pete. So make it very quick, mate.
Right. I'm going to say, okay, what it is, AA, yeah, the Automobile Association. It's in a bid situation. The bid is, I can't remember what numbers are, but it's like, I don't know, 38 pence or something. It's hardly anything. But basically, there's a company called Albert Bridge Capital that value it at 65 pence. They reckon the offer is way too low for AA, and that shareholders of AA should vote against the takeover in early January when it goes to a general meeting.
So why aren't they buying? Why aren't Albert Ridge or whatever they're called buying it themselves, Pete?
Well, I just think they're like a little small, sort of.
Yeah, so they've got a stake and they want more, basically, is what they're saying.
They've got a stake in it. I mean, they just think it's. I think they're probably right. They were saying that, in the current debt market, how it is, they could easily have refinanced that, themselves or whatever. And they just think it's crazy doing this deal.
Well, if that is the case, then there will be a bit more shareholders activism and say no to the deal. Yeah,
sorry, I used the wrong word there, but we don't give advice. We're just talking about it. But the point is that it just makes sense. It's like, why vote for it when if you can vote against it, the chances are a higher bid is going to come in. So anyway, we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm such a small shareholder, and it's sort of irrelevant what I do. But if there's anyone out there listening who's big and punchy, then yeah, vote against it.
I mean, this is the thing. We've seen a lot of deals coming out, and we've seen the situation with Airbnb, Pete, IPOing and now being worth 100 billion plus. There's a lot of money out there that people want you to throw at markets. So it's very interesting that was IPO'd at $68 and went up to $165 on the first day of IPO. There's a lot of change left on the table. So there's a lot of money slushing around that's available and ready to be put to work. And as I said at the beginning of this podcast, I suspect 2021 is not only going to be a year of mega mergers, but a lot of takeovers are going to happen. And the UK unfortunately is lowly valued, so I suspect we're going to see a lot of predators coming and buying stuff up. Once this uncertainty about Brexit is over with and 2021 sort of like calms itself down, if that's possible, and the vaccines and all the rest of it are put to work and people get back to some level of normality, I think we're going to see a lot of mergers, mate.
I think along that line, there's a lot of catch up to do. I think
a lot of catch up. Yeah, because we're
nearly all the global indexes, America, Japan, Germany, they're all-time highs.
Yeah, and we're not. We're far away from that. Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, Pete. We're gonna call it there, are we?
Yeah, I think so. Let me just have a quick look at my script. Yeah, right. Oh mate, there's so many. Well, in the next one, there's so many.
We've got 2021 to put all this in, Pete.
In TPI 39, there's so many things we need to talk about.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, I mean that's what we've got the end of the year one for as well, Pete. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've covered everything that.
Okie dokie.
I wanted to mention. Yeah, it's all good.
Okay. So, folks, Pete and I once again want to thank you ever so much for your continued support and feedback. Please subscribe, whichever podcast platform you use, wherever you are in the world. Just subscribe to the TwinPetes / Conquest Corner platforms that you've got this podcast on. And we're hoping in 2021 to get ourselves onto Amazon. We're working on that as we speak, so hopefully we'll get that done. But whatever you're doing in December, stay safe. As we've always said, please look out for your friends, your neighbours, and show some goodness, show some kindness, and remember, we are blessed to still be here because there's so many people that are not. There are a lot of people in a lot of pain, so if you can show a bit of kindness, please do so. I tend to spend a lot of my time around Christmas bimbling around the streets doing charitable stuff. I don't talk about it, that's just what I do. But if you can do anything about that this year and go into your communities and do something, there are lots and lots of people, soldiers, people that were in the armed forces, etc., that are on the streets this Christmas. So please go and do what you can to help and support the homeless and other people in difficulty. Okay? Wishing you a fantastic Christmas break, December break, whatever you call it, wherever you live in the world. Please take care, stay safe. We'll look forward to seeing you at the end of the month. And we'll look forward to seeing you in 2021. Take care. God bless.
Merry Christmas.
Bye-bye all.
This TwinPetes Investing podcast was brought to you in association with SharePad from ShareScope, the UK's #1 investment data and analysis software for private investors and traders. Visit sharescope.co.uk and discover the advantage.